And
Yeah.
there's, people have their reasons why they like. I mean, I had a conversation actually. I was running uh, like a studio lighting, portrait lighting workshop last night, and so I had a conversation with some of the participants in there, and really, it's interesting because some people, the reason why they don't like to shoot people, it's mainly because of that, communication part of
Mm.
it, like where they feel awkward or, they just don't feel like they don't, do you know what it's like? It's like sometimes some people just don't feel like they can make that connection, or it's harder for them to connect with, with the subject. And so they're more comfortable shooting some inanimate object because
But
then they
to
don't
be
have to
fair,
communicate with it.
you could actually apply that same kind of thing to weddings as well, because I would say and I'm going to generalize a little bit, but the vast majority of documentary photographers I know are very introverted, or quite introverted in general. And one of the reasons why I think they've gone down the documentary route is because it's a better way for them to interact. They're still interacting with people, they're still shooting, and they still love taking pictures of humans and what humans are doing, but they just don't want to get too involved on a personal level. I mean, on a personal level, I mean on a one-to-one basis. And I think that's one of their skills. I think that's why they see weddings the way they do. And I think some of them are so immensely skilled at that. And I'm trying to bring some of that into my work, but I think it's funny because I feel like maybe I'm not a natural documentary photographer for the reason that I do like interacting with humans. I do like having conversations with people. I like to go to a wedding and chat to people and get involved. I feel that's why they relax around me and I get such brilliant candid stuff.
So now it's all right. So now it's a different thing, but the thing I loved about, not only about your photography style, but also about the way that you just are as a person, was that, and again, it's a story, forgive me, listeners and viewers, if you've heard this before. I've talked about this many times before, but just for those uninitiated, I'll just tell it so very quickly. It was, our wedding day was the wettest August day since 1945. It was chucking it down. It was unbelievable. We had these like fluffy ideas of going to this bridge over a canal, like this oldie worldy, like Victorian, I don't know, bridge thing. And, the idea was, it's going to be a beautiful day. And then we're just going to take some portrait, some shots on some couple shots on the bridge. And that was going to be it. But on that day, it was chucking it down. It was raining, cats and dogs, as they say over here. And it was crazy. And really, I was ready to, and it was like what was it, like a 10-minute walk or something from the house to.
Yeah, we had to go. Yeah, I remember the day very well. Actually, that weather was horrendous.
Well, it was nuts. And so, I had to kind of go across a farm to get this bridge and all the rest of it. So in my mind, I think, had it been a nice sunny day, which, let's face it, doesn't really happen over here. Well, occasionally it does. But, but had it been like the perfect day with the Simpsons clouds in the sky and all that kind of stuff, these images, I'm sure they would have been great, but they would have been relatively normal. The fact that, my wife was wearing her wedding dress and wellies, and, we had an umbrella, and it was literally, you can see the raindrops in the air. I mean, you can see it's chucking it down, and like, we're drenched and all that kind of stuff. It really made for really unique images.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, photographer, it's the kind of thing when I started out that would have scared me, like, oh my God, the weather, like, I think now, I think I'm an experienced shooter, I just see it as an opportunity. So for me, it's like, well, let's do something different then. Let's not get concerned about what we could have had. Let's shoot what we can, I don't know what photographer it is that said it to me at a conference years ago, or they did it in a talk, and they were basically like, you have to remember to shoot the wedding you're at. And I think that's an incredibly important bit of advice, because I think sometimes when you're built up in your mind, like, you're going out, it's August, it's going to be beautiful, you're at a lovely place, and where you took us to do these photos was absolutely beautiful with that canal and the rain and stuff. It was trains, wasn't it? Was it a train line? It was a canal. It was a canal.
It was like, yeah, it was a canal. Yeah, it's very.
I started to doubt myself for a minute. Then yeah, it was a canal. It looked amazing. I actually think the rain made it better. I think it made it more interesting, and I think because you guys embraced it, and you didn't let it bother you, I think that's why I love the photos so much. And I remember when I first put them up on my Instagram and stuff. Do you remember everyone was going crazy about them because they loved them? Because it is, it is the kind of thing that can go wrong. People can just say, "Oh, we don't want any pictures," or it's like when I shoot a wedding these days and I get a bride who's more interested in. Well, actually, I don't get this anymore. This is probably quite a telling thing, actually, about the way I shoot now. Sometimes you get a bride who's more interested in making sure her dress is still white than she is about going out and getting involved and having some fun and getting some great pictures. I mean, that's your prerogative. I totally understand it. But my point of view from a photographer is like, well, you can clean your dress, but you're not going to get an opportunity to take photos on this day again. So why don't we go out and embrace it? And that's what I try to do. That's always been my attitude. I think in the face of that kind of adversity, there's always opportunity to do something awesome and memorable. And that's kind of what I try to do. So when couples say to me now, "Oh, what do you do when the weather's bad?" I'm like, well, one, I'm a shooter in England. So it's not like this is unusual. And the other thing is, well, I'm like, I'm always going to be like, let's go and do it. Unless it's like so horrendous that you literally can't get out. And I've had a few like that as well. But even then there's opportunities. We've got brollies, we've got parts of a venue you can use. For me, it's just, go out and make the most of it. Don't let that dictate what you do on a day.
Yeah, and that's really, I think that really speaks to your just personality to be that upbeat and positive, even when, because this is the thing, you plan something like a wedding and then something goes wrong and your mind is sort of stuck on, shit, that's not the plan, rather than thinking...
I am panicking, don't get me wrong. Well, I don't want my couples to know that. And also, because I really believe, like I said before, there's opportunity still. But I think actually a big part of my job, if I'm honest, is to help to keep my couples calm, and also help them get excited when they need to be excited. So I think from my point of view, it's like you'll never really know how I'm feeling inside if I think something's a little bit, oh no, because I'm always like, well, we just got to go out and do it. And the amount of times when I've been like, oh God, I'm not sure this is going to work. But then I just go out and do it, and it always does. It always works. I guess that is an ideal client to a certain extent, but I don't want it to be that specific. There's a lot of diversity in the weddings I shoot. It will go from little DIY weddings like what you had yourself, all the way up to grand weddings in crazy places that are very regal. But one thing that is really consistent about the weddings I shoot is the types of people that book me, and I think that's because of the way, I think it's partly because of what I show, but I think it's just partly because I've really lent into my personality being a huge part of my brand, and the reason why I shoot the way I shoot.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.